But we begin the NFL 2023 prediction show with the AFC South. Let's talk about the AFC South. And last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they won the AFC South. They finished with a 9-8 record. Titans finished with a 7-10 record. Colts were 4-12-1. And the Houston Texans were 3-13-1. You look at the Vegas odds for this upcoming season and the expectations for the division. The Jaguars are favored to win the division, minus 155. The Titans come in second place at plus 350. The Colts are plus 700. And the Texans are a plus 1100. So when you look at the AFC South, obviously the team to beat in the AFC South is the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence last year, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4,113 passing yards. He completed 66% of his passes. But last year, when you look at Trevor Lawrence, he started off the season decent. Week 1 through 8, Trevor Lawrence had 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. His passer rating was 84.8. Then midseason, he got hot. Weeks 9 through 15, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, passer rating of 111. But then towards the end of the season, week 16 on, and even the 2 playoff games, Trevor Lawrence didn't play so well. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, only a 79.5 passer rating. So he did decent at the beginning of the season. In the middle of the season, he was hot, elevated himself into that MVP conversation. And then towards the end of the season, he didn't play great. Remember, in the playoff game against the Chargers on Wild Card Weekend, Trevor Lawrence had 4 interceptions in the first half. Now, he bounced back in the second half, but I'm one of those people that believe in, if you start the fire, you damn sure better put the fire out. And Trevor Lawrence started the fire in that wild card matchup against the Chargers last year. Now, he bounced back in the second half, and he had a sensational performance in the second half against the Chargers. And they were able to win that game. One of the biggest comebacks in the NFL history in the NFL playoffs. But I got big expectations for Trevor Lawrence because I believe this is the season for Trevor Lawrence to emerge as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. The Jaguars are going to get back Calvin Ridley. They still got Christian Kirk, Zay Jones at receiver. They got Travis Etienne in the backfield. And I love the chemistry that Travis Etienne has with Trevor Lawrence. I really, really do. And obviously they're led by Doug Peterson. And Doug Peterson won an NFL Super Bowl when he coached the Philadelphia Eagles. So I love Doug Peterson as a head coach. And we know he's a tremendous play caller for the Jacksonville Jaguars. My questions about the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be about their defense. I want to see their defense. They're led by defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell. Can their defense play better this year? Defensively, in their secondary, they got Tyson Campbell at DB. They got Darius Williams. At safety, they got Rayshawn Jenkins, okay? At linebacker, you got Devin Lloyd. You got Trayvon Walker as well. So defensively, can the Jacksonville Jaguars play better this season? We know offensively, led by Trevor Lawrence, they're going to be able to put up points. But can their defense play better? You look at the Indianapolis Colts. They brought in new head coach Shane Steichen. But they're going to be starting their new rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson. And it's been a mess in Indianapolis, to say the least, over the last few years when it comes to their quarterbacks. It has been a complete mess. Like the last few years in Indianapolis, think about the quarterbacks that they've had. Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, an old washed-up Matt Ryan last year. It has been a mess in Indianapolis over the last few years. They have in 5 years, they have started 8 different quarterbacks. 8 different quarterbacks in 5 years for the Indianapolis Colts. And right now, obviously, everyone knows that they are in a situation with Jonathan Taylor where Jonathan Taylor doesn't want to play for the Indianapolis Colts anymore. And you look at Jonathan Taylor and what he was able to do in 2021. Jonathan Taylor played in all 17 games. Rush attempts, 332 rush attempts, 1,811 rushing yards, 18 total rushing touchdowns. He led the NFL in rush attempts, rush yards, and rushing touchdowns. And last year, he only played in 11 games, but he was dealing with some injuries. That offensive line for the Indianapolis Colts was banged up. But Jonathan Taylor is their best player on their football team. And here, the Indianapolis Colts organization is playing hardball with their best player. Jim Irsay had some comments earlier in the offseason and pretty much said that he doesn't plan to pay Jonathan Taylor the money that he feels like he deserves. And it's ridiculous because Jonathan Taylor is what Anthony Richardson needs. I say it all the time. To me, depending on the type of quarterback that you have on your football team, that determines the value of your running back. If you're Patrick Mahomes, if you're Joe Burrow, if you're Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, you don't need an elite running back to rely on. But if you are Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Ryan Tannehill, you need a reliable, elite running back to rely on. So the fact that the Indianapolis Colts are playing hardball with Jonathan Taylor, considering they're going to be starting a new rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. Now I'm looking at Anthony Richardson at the University of Florida. He had 24 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 3,105 passing yards, completing 55% of his passes. I love his athleticism, but I think this is going to be a season where Anthony Richardson is going to have to grow and he's going to have to develop. He's going to make a lot of mistakes, but he's going to make some wow plays for the Colts this year. And we're going to see the upside in Anthony Richardson as the season goes along. But I do expect him to struggle throughout the season. But when I look at the Colts overall offensively, you got Alex Pierce at receiver. They still got Michael Pittman as well. Okay, at tight end, you got Kalen Granson. I like their defense, but I don't have high expectations for the Colts this year. I don't have high expectations for them. I really, really don't. And in the first 4 games of the season, Jonathan Taylor will be out. He will be out. The Colts organization, honestly, has been a mess since Andrew Luck retired. They have been a complete mess. Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck did a tremendous job stabilizing this organization. The Colts and Jim Irsay have been a mess. Jim Irsay, he's on Twitter more than any other owner that I know. So I just don't see this Colts team going anywhere. Now let's go to the Titans. Last year, the Titans finished 7-10. They did bring in DeAndre Hopkins, and they still got Derrick Henry and Treylon Burks. And I love their head coach in Mike Vrabel. I really, really like Mike Vrabel a lot as a head coach. I think he's one of the premier coaches in the NFL and someone who I got a lot of respect for. They made some improvements on their offensive line. And Ryan Tannehill is going to lead the charge. But honestly, when it comes to the Titans this year, the question isn't about whether or not they're going to be a playoff team. The question for me is more so, when are they going to give an opportunity to Malik Willis or Will Levis? Because Ryan Tannehill is not the long-term answer for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback. He's not. So I don't expect the Titans to be a playoff team. Defensively, they're secondary. They got some young players who are pretty good. They still got Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry is going to be back, but I don't have high expectations for the Tennessee Titans. I really don't. Now, let's transition to the Houston Texans. They brought in new head coach DeMeco Ryans. I love this hire by the Houston Texans. I think DeMeco Ryans was a tremendous coordinator when he was in San Francisco. They obviously drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. I love those picks by the Houston Texans. Will Anderson has a chance to be the best player on this Houston Texans football team overall. He was dominant at the University of Alabama. And that's saying a lot considering how much talent Alabama has. But Will Anderson was tremendous. He was tremendous. Now, offensively, let's start off with C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud at the University of Ohio State, 85 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 8,123 passing yards, completing 69% of his passes. But the biggest question for me is going to be, can C.J. Stroud play at a high level in the NFL? We have never seen an Ohio State quarterback be elite at the NFL level. It has not happened. Troy Smith was not elite. Cardale Jones was not elite. So there's never been a quarterback who played at Ohio State who got to the NFL level and played at a high level. It's never happened. So that's my biggest question. Can C.J. Stroud's success that he had at Ohio State transition to Houston for the Houston Texans, and he can be a good elite NFL quarterback? I'm not so sure. Now, the Houston Texans, they have some key offseason additions. They picked up Devin Singletary in free agency. They signed Robert Woods as well. They brought in Dalton Schultz, the former tight end from the Dallas Cowboys. Got Shaq Mason up front, defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins as well, and safety Jimmy Ward will help their defense. But I don't have high expectations for the Texans this year. I really don't. I got them finishing last in the AFC South. So in the division, I have and it's tough because I think one of the biggest questions too is going to be which quarterback has a better season, Anthony Richardson or C.J. Stroud. I'm going to say C.J. Stroud has a better season than Anthony Richardson. So I got the Colts finishing fourth in the AFC South. I got the Texans finishing third. And second, I got the Titans, but they're not going to be a playoff team. And I got the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South this upcoming NFL season. I think it's the Jaguars division to lose. They are the far superior team in the AFC South, and they will be representing the AFC South in the playoffs this season. So I got Jags at 1, Titans at 2, Texans at 3, and Colts at 4. Those are my AFC South standings for this upcoming NFL season.